I will start off by saying, unlike the folks up here on stage yesterday, this is our first RevvedUP. So just to give a quick 30 seconds on Strive, we're not a product company, we're not a platform company. We've been around for 40 years, 20,000 employees, private equity owned by EQT, and we are an AI and data services company. So tech agnostic, platform agnostic. We work with media tech, publishers, studios, streaming media providers, music companies to provide outcome-based approaches with AI accelerators and an expert in the loop. All of the IP resides with our clients and on their environment. So after speaking with Heather, I was very excited to present to you a case study that we thought would resonate with a lot of people. By introducing everyone to Rick Fordyce, the CDO of one of our media clients, Media Radar. The challenges they faced as we've worked with Rick for the past 11 months, I think will resonate with people in the room in terms of new leadership, private equity owned, new expectations, a mandate for growth, how to scale faster, but they're also stuck with legacy workflows, limited documentation, a lot of dependence on institutional knowledge. So I think a lot of people will sit here and say, yes, we know exactly what you're talking about. So, Rick, tell us a little bit about Media Radar and what you walked into 11 months ago.
Thank you, Lori. Just to give maybe a little bit of background on me, I did not come from the media industry. I came from finance and insurance mostly, where I focused on very regulated environments where the focus on data had a mandate that it was controlled by the SEC or privacy laws. So walking into Media Radar, I would say it was not atypical in what I found, right? There were significant numbers of data sets, there were inconsistent rules, there was tribal knowledge, there were culture wars through acquisition of we did it this way and we're only gonna do it this way. We had, I would say, different definitions of quality across the organization that were driving how we developed products and probably limited how we were developing products. So, walking in, it was very typical. What I think was interesting was I didn't have the regulatory requirements that said this is what you had to do in terms of driving a higher level of quality and volume. The other thing that I think was very interesting to me is when I came in, I would talk about, okay, we're gonna add new coverage, we're gonna add new data sets. It was always about how many people are we gonna add to do that? And it was a shock to me, and this is how I got involved with Strive, where I came in and said, we're gonna cover a new data set, and I heard to cover 6 months of historical data, it was going to take 300 people and $1 million. And it was one of those, oh my God moments. So I had worked with Lori in the past and reached out and said, hey, can we bring in some new perspective on what I'm finding? So I engaged my HR team of what we needed in terms of the type of people that we needed and what the expectations and experiences were. I involved our finance team of saying this is what we're gonna have to do to change it and transform it, to our technology team of you have to build it, and our commercial and product organization saying, what do we really need and what are we delivering for our customers? So walking in, I had my eyes wide open, that it was going to be a challenge and some big opportunities. And I think that once we got in and understood what we needed to deliver, we were able to then start really working on what the opportunity was to deliver from a technology and AI perspective.
But how did you really think through what was that first win case going to be? How are we going to hit a couple of singles, not try to boil the ocean? Like, how did you come about that?
Yeah, I think that, and again, it was going in and really understanding what our customers needed. And we had hit a ceiling in terms of human capacity in order to deliver on expanded volume to enrich our data. So it was going in and thinking, okay, what is the first point of entry where our data is adding value? And just from our business model, it was getting to a point of when we see an ad and we collect that ad, what is the product brand and advertiser? And we'd hit that ceiling. We had about 1,000 people that were driving and delivering that data, and then to be able to expand that 2, 3, 4, 10x, we were not going to be able to keep pace. So it was going in and saying, okay, what is the first point of entry where that data becomes valuable to our customers, which is where we started with what we call our classification engine, which is looking at ads and being able to extract that information effectively from the advertising and then storing the data so that we can distribute it to customers.
Was the impact different than what you originally thought going in? Did anything change?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for us, it was really getting to that point where it was about scale and scale with quality. So when we were thinking about what people were doing and being able to establish a baseline of quality, what we started to look at is, can we actually give AI the right information for it to be able to give us the right outcome and right output? And we found it didn't. So we had to really go in and think about our governance strategy and our data strategy for how to be able to give AI the best chance of doing that. And we transitioned a bit to what our people were doing as well, where they were going from mostly a data entry, data extraction, data classification, into validating an AI output. And I think that the other part of that, so that was one, but I think the other part of it was, one of the things that we worked with, and we have Anubhav in the audience who worked with me on this, is anything that we were going to deploy in terms of AI or machine learning needed to have a way of validating itself. So we were adding confidence score to the AI capability that we're delivering, as well as why it made the decision. So an AI reasoning capability was also born from what we worked on with Strive. And that allowed us to enrich our data differently. It was capturing information that we hadn't been capturing. So it was capturing more metadata. And I told Lori about an example where one of our VPs of product and I looked at the AI reasoning output that it created, and he asked it a question. We created a very simple bot, and it asked a question: how many of our ads have a dog? And it was a small subset, but it came back with, it was, I think, 300 of the sample set. And then it was, how many of those were in financial services? And then it came out of that. And then it was asking, why is there a dog in financial services? And it started to show a trend to be able to, as it interpreted, it was saying that there was a trend of being able to humanize the financial services industry. It was showing kids and dogs and these kinds of things. And that's something that we didn't have before. Whether or not it was accurate, we didn't test, but it gave more of that insight than what we had. So I think that was another area that was surprising that we are able to now leverage, because we're able to create more insights and more information from what we're collecting from our data, not just the brand, advertiser, and product.
So as you looked at the outcomes, not just savings, but top line, how did you really know it was working?
We actually found that when we were using some of the capability, and as you see, as 15 weeks to onboard a new customer and data for that customer, it was showing that we were increasing coverage more exponentially than we had really thought we were going to do. And it helped us sign one of our largest deals in the company's history for a financial services company. So it started to show that we were giving the right output and outcome because we had human in the loop. We had people that were validating the machine learning output. And also it was giving us a sense that we made people a part of the system versus just trying to replace. Our focus here was not only a cost play, it was a scale and customer play. And we were able to prove that concept by winning some of those bigger deals that we were trying to go after.
So as you talk about, you wanted people to buy into it, how did you deal with the change management? It was a lot of change in a very short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, this is one, and I mentioned culture wars, right? So you had a lot of people that had been with the organization through acquisition for 20, 30 years, and were really stuck a little bit in how they were working. And I think we heard some of the other panelists talk about, the resistance, is AI going to take my job, and those pieces. It did do some of that, and it was the right choice and the appropriate choice, but we also made people a part of it. So we started training people differently on what is human in the loop, what is the perspective of prompt engineering, what are those components. So we made them, we had them in a situation where they were able to see themselves in the future as a part of this versus, hey, that's going to take my job. And we created a bit of a logo for what we were doing with the classification engine and where we're going in terms of AI is we are a data company that is powered by AI but perfected by people because we continue to believe that in order for AI to be as effective as we need it to be, it needs to be validated by humans as it continues to grow and learn. And that was a big part of how we were able to get people on board and operationalize and productionalize the capability.
So as you've looked out over the last 11 months, like what's next? What do we keep looking at to look ahead of what happens next?
We keep talking about our ability to scale. And you know, as an organization, we are finding that data and advertising data is continuing to change very quickly, and the volumes that are coming through on digital platforms, CTV, social platforms is increasing exponentially. So we are looking at how do we keep up with that and how do we manage that. The classification engine that you're seeing on the screen is a big part of it, but it's also the pieces that go into it. And they said we weren't going to boil the ocean, but it's now looking at what would allow us to go after a new market. And we are working with you now on a new program and platform that is starting to look at how do we extract new information and different information from where we are today. And it's in kind of the POC stage, and you have taken on the workflow around that, so you're becoming the expert in that workflow so that you're able to inform that in a new way versus it being a historical view that this is the only way that it can be done. And what it's also allowing us to do is deliver more quickly than what we've seen in the past. So I think that we're starting to see pace.
Fantastic. You guys have been great partners, a lot of collaboration, and truly appreciate the
I think we're giving you some headaches too, so I will recognize that.
Thank you.
Thank you.